The NFL offseason has been whack so far, and with free agency now almost coming to an end, I think it's about time we talk about the three most major situations that have happened in free agency so far this season. We'll start off by heading to LA, where the former Super Bowl champions will be trading one of their star players to the Miami Dolphins. This player being cornerback Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey is a beast, also known as at least a top 5, maybe even top 3 corner in the entire league, arguably the best in the entire league. And looking at his career stats, he has a total of 19 interceptions throughout his entire career, to being traded to another team because he went from Jacksonville to LA in the first place and then won a ring with the Rams last year, to which they fell apart. Now let's look at what the Rams have gotten in return for this deal. You may be thinking, at least they got something good for this good of a player. Well, you'd be incorrect. They got a third-round pick and tight end Hunter Long, which this entire season has gotten a singular reception. And that reception was in Week 18. So, I don't really think Hunter Long is the ideal return for this trade, especially when the Rams are now in a rebuild, most likely, and they absolutely need key pieces and young core to get on their team ASAP, and to trade one of their only weapons, like Jalen Ramsey, is sad. But now, let's go to Darren Waller. Now, the initial trade was to the Giants, as the Raiders traded Darren Waller for only a third-round pick. Again, in my opinion, a fleece by the Giants, who now have a young Dan Bellinger and a Darren Waller, who is now a top 5 tight end due to his spectacular greatness throughout the league this season. He was arguably a top 5 tight end this season, especially after being finally noticed by his audience. As we look at his stats this season, he had a total of 3 touchdowns, averaged 13.9 yards per carry, which is incredible, had 388 yards and only 28 receptions. For averaging 13.9 yards on only 28 receptions and for getting 3 touchdowns, that's absolutely amazing for how good he did this season. And looking back at his entire career, he has 19 touchdowns, 298 receptions, and 3,572 yards, and averages 12 yards per carry, beefing that up after this season, averaging about 14. Overall, Darren Waller is a steal of a deal for the Giants, and he's really going to make an impact on their team, especially since the Giants are getting out of a rebuild and are also finally starting to make an appearance at playoff berth almost every single season now, as they're on their way back up, and adding Darren Waller to their team is only going to help them in this situation. And finally, what perhaps is the biggest move this entire offseason is something that happened before free agency even started, believe it or not. And this was the Bears trading the first overall pick to the Carolina Panthers in exchange for DJ Moore, the 9th overall pick in this year's draft, this second round pick for this year's draft, a 4th round pick for next year's draft, and a 2nd round pick in 2025's draft. This is an absolute steal for the Chicago Bears, and even my own brother, who's a Carolina Panthers fan, hates that his team gave up this much for already having a top 10 pick in the draft, just giving up that much for the first overall pick, including DJ Moore in this deal. Now, DJ Moore is a sneaky weapon who somehow stays up almost after every single catch and tries to make his way and weave around using his speed and accuracy to get around the corners and the defenders in general, and does a great job at it. As this season, he had 7 touchdowns, a career high, averaged 14.1 yards, which is amazing, had 63 receptions and 888 yards, which for a wide receiver, he played spectacular.